Excellent. So I'm excited to be here and interview the founder of Botter. And you said use the name Abby, but I want people to hear your correct name. You were kind enough so I wouldn't mess it up. Go ahead.
So, hey, Martin, thanks for having me here. So yeah, I'm Abhi. Full name is Abhimanyu, but Martin has done a great job of pronouncing my nickname, which is great. I'm founder of Botter, and yeah, great to be on the show, Martin.
Excellent. And I learned about you because one of the people helping you with marketing reached out to me seeing I was talking about AI and said, come see our bot. It's free to sign up. He's doing a great job. And I signed up and having fun, and you'll offer a free service of it. We'll go into that later on, but it got me to get to play with the bot and also let some people who want to learn about it learn something. So why don't we start with what is a chatbot and just explain it, because it's becoming more and more important in our world.
Sure. So as the name suggests, Martin, so a chatbot is kind of a software, which is pretty much developed to automate, the kind of tasks you would do manually. So in this particular context, when you talk about chatbot, it's like having a conversation with a piece of software and getting things done. It could range from booking your appointments to managing your schedule to answering questions. It could be anything. So that's what it is intended to do. Although historically, bots have been used in different contexts. For example, web crawlers, or maybe bot followers on different social networks. But in this particular context, we are talking about simulating human conversation via chatbots. So that's pretty much the context that we are in right now. Make sense?
Excellent. Yes, it does. And it looks like there's been the idea of bots have been around for a while. And I think that's great that you distinguish. There's bots that automatically do things, like Google has search bots that go out and look for new pages, or
Correct.
misuse of it might be fake people on Twitter trying to retweet or buy us something. And then the other side is the kind of conversational attempting to provide services for human beings that frees up the experts to work and resources in a business for other things. And that's the domain I want to talk about, because that's been around for a while, but I really think it's seeing a greater progression now that machine learning is picked up. And would you talk a little bit about that, because bots isn't really that new, but chatbots that are better at interacting using machine learning really is more recent.
Yeah, exactly. So rightly pointed out, Martin. So I think the major reason for chatbots becoming the thing right now is, messaging and AI have been the biggest trends of this decade, pretty much. So if you look at a lot of other markets like China, where WeChat has been pretty much dominant force in terms of, enabling day-to-day services, or maybe commerce, or maybe communication, whatever you want to say. And in other parts of the world as well. For example, in India, you see WhatsApp. In developing countries, you'd see WhatsApp. In US, you'll primarily see Messenger or maybe Telegram. So there is a rising trend of messaging per se, and the reason is almost 50 to 60% of your time is spent in messaging, period. And that's where people are getting stuff done, and that's where businesses want to be, that's where influencers and brands want to be, and that's where even the friends want to be. So because of that trend in messaging, and the reason why messaging is picked up is because that's the most natural and raw form of communication. There is no learning curve. So as an interface, messaging is something that has really taken over the world right now. And what has led to chatbots, especially in the last couple of years, is the development in machine learning and AI side. So now you can do things which are not practically scalable using pure human messaging. So this is where the whole AI machine learning angle comes in, where it digests the sort of natural language per se, and tries to predict, what is the intent of a given query or a message, and then, suggest an appropriate response. So let's say if I'm talking to your bot, your bot would probably know about you. Again, using natural language processing, it has digested information about Martin, and then when somebody communicates to your bot, it will try to give a natural language response, which it has learned from your data, right? So the processing power of machines, the whole algorithms, the whole breakthrough in artificial neural networks, these are the developments over the last 2-3 years which have led to a big, big sort of, I would say, coupled with messaging, has led to a big trend that we are seeing right now in terms of automating at a scalable level, in an interface which is much more preferred and much more human compared to anything we've seen in the last 20-25 years of, the history of web development.
And I want to explain it and then tell me if I'm correct. Before, a bot was basically going to a table or a Q&A and able to just pull that data. So it's like a database search with nothing else. Now it's going, okay, if I don't have, first of all, let me understand what they're saying. Let me understand what they want. Let me see what would be the next thing they would want. There would be an add-on or change to that at the same time. Is that the start? And then, of course, let me engage humans if I don't know it, and then learn once I engage the human to answer the question.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's where bots are so powerful, right? Because they not just have the ability to communicate in natural language, but they constantly learn from the conversation that is happening, right? So the machine learns. Okay, if you responded to this particular question in a particular way, then next time if somebody asks something, I need to respond in this manner. So that is the power which we didn't have, before. So the machine learning, this is where the whole automation comes, right? The algorithms are learning themselves. The more and more data that is fed to the system, the algorithms become smarter. So the more data you, for example, provide to your bot, the bot learns automatically about you and then tries to predict what is the right step.
Excellent. And would you explain to people a little bit about what is machine learning? Because we've got everything from Elon Musk scaring the world that the Terminator will be at our door tomorrow, to people getting treatment for cancer because now there's new machine learning systems finding patterns that weren't there before. So I'd love to get your definition of what is machine learning, and maybe a little bit about what neural nets are in your words, because I think it's something that we all need to at least have a fundamental understanding of.
Martin, happy to elaborate. So I think there is a lot of hysteria and fear when it comes to sort of AI and machine learning and bots. And that's partially because there is not much, most of the things which have been hyped is what you have probably what visualized, or maybe in the movies, for example, right? To tell you the truth, I think, the technology is there to augment your experience, not to replace it, right? So in this fear before as well, in a lot of cases, when we thought apps would come, websites would come, they would replace people, they would replace their jobs, but that hasn't happened. I think it has empowered people to get more done, more effectively done and efficiently done, right? And that's exactly what chatbots as a technology and AI as a technology will bring to the table, right? It'll help you get things done in a much more effective and efficient way, therefore giving you more time back and helping you do things which you thought were probably mundane for some human to actually do. So all these things, and this will probably help. Like as a human being, the thing which machine can't do, at least right now or in the foreseeable future, is the ability to be creative, ability to think, ability to come up with new ideas. So all those things are much more productive and much more human oriented, and I don't see that anytime those things can be let's say replaced by technology or AI or say. So that's not going to happen. So a lot of fear is, I would say, unfounded, and probably as anything else, the view is that it should augment your experience rather than sort of replacing it. Now, machine learning is technology. It's fairly straightforward. So it tries to replicate how your sort of mind and brain learns about things, right? So as a child and as an adult, and as you grow up, basically you are trying to digest data. Your brain is trying to digest data from outside world, whether it is language, whether it is visuals, whether it is something else. It doesn't matter. It's trying to process that information and form patterns, right? So this is what the neural network within your brain does, right? It tries to digest that data and then learn different patterns from it. And so that next time when you see a tree, it is a tree, right? Because your brain has already learned that. It's there, it's mapped. So similarly, that is the concept of artificial neural network, right? It tries to learn from, vast amounts of data and builds model on top of it. So next time when you show a picture of a cat, the machine is able to accurately predict, yes, this is a cat which I've seen. So that's essentially the same, I would say, analogy that I can give here, which is much more human, I guess. But that is what the machine is trying to do in terms of ANN and sort of machine learning per se.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things I think that's important to understand is, unlike a human where we can see it a few times and do it, the evolution of bots is still, evolution of machine learning is still relatively primitive to this scary Terminator, in that it's got to have 10,000 or millions of interactions with this pin to know it's a pin. And I think that's one of the things for people to understand when they're afraid of it, to go, look, it's not as smart as you think, but it also is a valuable tool, because if it can recognize this pin, then it can see something else and go, well, I think that's a pin too. And, I'm holding up a cross pin and a different pin, and it goes, statistically, they look similar. They seem to be two similar items. And I think that another aspect, the other aspect I've learned by chatting with my stepson that's a programmer and expert in these areas, is that statistics and probability is also an important piece that's woven into it. So it goes, I think there's a good probability the two things you're holding are both pins,
Exactly.
And this fact that in the what we call here the AI winter, the problem was the software could only take so much data in, and then it reached a threshold. It couldn't do anymore. Now it can keep getting smarter with more data you give it. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So that's what I said. So the whole scale of processing information has increased many folds, and to train this kind of a model, you need plenty of processing power, right? Which was not possible maybe 5-10 years ago. But today the computers are so fast. There is a lot of processing power. There is a vast amounts of data online which is available. So all these things have just compounding the effect of so building algorithms and theory is one thing, but then now you have the practical data as well as processing power to actually make it work. So yeah, these things coming together have enabled this technology to actually come to the forefront.
Outstanding. I had a few other questions I'll just look at to see, make sure. First of all, again, generally when we're talking about bots, chatbots today they're generally going to be text-based. Is that right? Over speaking to us, or it could be chatbots that are text, or chatbots that are would you put Siri and Alexa and those into the domain of a bot too?
Absolutely. See, at the end of the day, you classify anything as conversation, right? Whether it is text or voice, doesn't matter. So that trend is already there. So for example, Google Assistant, right, and Alexa, they already have a bot platform. So Alexa calls them skills, right? So developers who are building skills on top of Alexa essentially are bots, right? Or same with the Google Assistant, right? You as a developer, you can create bots now for Assistant, which kind of leverages the power of Google. And so there are plenty of things. Messenger hasn't come out in voice space, for example, yet, but that is purely text-based, because it depends on the interface, it depends on the sort of device that you're using. But yeah, at the end of the day, they are all bots, right? whether powered by voice or text doesn't matter.
Where do you think will be the biggest frontier in bots? Where is the biggest progress occurring? I mean, one I see is just customer service. If I want an answer and I can get it quick from a bot and it's correct, that's a lot quicker than having to get on a phone and trying to figure out which number to push to fight my way to a human being.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell me about it. We've all been there. So yeah, exactly. Customer support is one area where you can see, direct application of a chatbot. It's much more personal. It's much more conversational. As a user, you feel engaged, and there is nothing which is more, I would say, gratifying if you are able to get your answer, but just by talking to somebody without having to put yourself on, through a torturous, 30-minute, 45-minute call with the support agent, which you both don't enjoy, I'm sure. So chatbot in that sense is a boon for both parties, right? So yes, that is one use case. The other one being obviously, if you are a busy person, for example, having to answer same questions over and over again, which gets monotonous for you as well as your audience. A bot is a godsend. It can work for you on your behalf 24/7. It never feels tired. It never feels offended if somebody asks something. So that is another use case. Third is e-commerce, for example. Let's say you are on a product page of Amazon or some other site, and you have a quick doubt or about a pricing or maybe delivery or something, and the bot is there right there to help you with that product purchase. So again, selling and conversion can go up manyfold. And then there are things about generally about managing your bookings and appointments and all those things, which can make you more productive. So the use cases are endless. It depends on the context, depends on the person who's using the bot. But a bot is like, as a concept, it can work across domains.
Excellent. So you brought up sales, which is, we have a podcast show linking into sales, and we've talked to a lot of people on AI that are directly using in sales. How are ways you see this being used in sales?
Right. So see, I'll give you an example. So, we have seen a lot of conversations on our platform, on other sites as well, where, site visitors would come and engage with the chatbot, and they are, in couple of questions that they would ask, they get the right answer, and their doubts are clarified there and then, right? So there is 65% chance that customer, according to statistics, there is 65% chance there will be a question that or a doubt the customer will have when they land on your page, right? And it more than often, they don't get the satisfactory answer, or they're not able to find it, period, on your website. So they end up leaving the website or sort of not coming back. So in this case, chatbot, if it's always there, always on the face, it's able to communicate with the customer, who at the same time feels very engaged. They're able to get the answers they're looking for, and then seamlessly within the same conversation, they are able to recommend, okay, these are the products that you're actually looking for. So the whole process of decision making of buying something is much more streamlined. It's much more conversational. It's like talking to a customer support guy when you walk into Macy's, right? So if you're buying something and there is a rep, customer rep who's actually selling you something, they're able to explain the size, the fit, the look, the texture, whatever. It's the same concept that applies to chatbot, right? In a digital context. So that way, the whole conversation, angle of selling something has led to not just reduction in conversion rates, for example, but also improvement in general engagement as well as sales side. So just having that personal sort of sales agent who's there 24/7 to help your customer is such a great concept for all small businesses.
I think there's something really important that you've done is you make clear it's a bot. So it's not like the person thinks they're talking directly to me. So then they're choosing it. We as consumers want help, but we don't want to be misled. And so I think that's an important distinction. It says, welcome to Martin's chatbot. in your system. And I think that's very good, because then I go, oh, it's, that's what it, hold on. 1 second. It's a important piece to understand is I know I'm talking to a bot, and then you can choose or not. But some people prefer it. I have a friend that's an introvert that when we go to the restaurant, I go up to order, and he's very happy to go up to the iPad because he don't want to have to talk to the person,
Yeah, we all have those friends. Yeah.
Right. So that sounds like sales. The other area is, I think we have about a 5-year plan that's going on, a 5-year time period of a real boom in AI. And what I see is investors jumping in, and some of them need some guidance on how to identify what are good investments in the area of AI. And this wasn't a question that I thought of before, but what's your advice in being a prudent investor in AI? What should you be looking for? Because a lot of people are now thinking of that.
Yeah, absolutely. See, I think because of the noise and hype created about bots and AI, it's like the gold rush movement right now in the world of technology. Nobody wants to miss out on a great technology which can be like a game changer, or could be the next big thing of the decade. So everybody is jumping onto it, and unfortunately there is so much noise. Anybody who's who's even remotely close to technology, they have to throw a word about machine learning and AI. That's how it has become. So it's very hard to distinguish between that noise and some genuine tech. And I think that's where the investors need to be very, very careful, because they need to understand, the dynamics of this technology. What is really proprietary, what is worse, something which is just rule based, like packaged in a fancy form, right? So that differentiation obviously will come from, one, if they are able to talk to some expert mentors or advisors who have, who they have on their fund, or maybe friends, or they're able to actually learn about it, personally speaking, to understand, okay, what is it that makes it really proprietary versus something which has existed and this is nothing new other than some buzzwords, right? So that is the fundamental thing. Second thing is the use case, right? Again, everybody is throwing these words without actually understanding, does it solve a genuine problem for the end user? See, end user doesn't give a shit, sorry about that, but they don't care. They don't care about the underlying technology unless it solves a genuine pain point for them, right? So they have to sort of understand whether this piece of tech is actually useful for the end users. Does it solve a pain point at the moment? If the answer to these two things is yes, then the company's onto something, right? And those are the major points that I would consider if I was the one putting my money on an AI startup.
That's excellent. So I want to go over that. One is, what is their unique competitive advantage? Is it really a competitive advantage versus, like you said, just some rule-based thing that simulates a sense of AI, which has been around since the 70s, or 80s, or whatever.
Absolutely.
And then the next is, what is the pain point that customers perceive and need that you're solving, that is someone wants bad enough to pay for? And you need to be addressing that in that area as well. Is that pain point? Are we addressing that too? So I think that's fantastic piece of it. The next question I have is, people are concerned about jobs. And yes, all of AI is going to displace jobs. My view is education and learning how to both use the technology, so you aren't the dinosaur that doesn't know how to use it, but also watch where it's going and think, how can I compete? What is the human aspect I bring to the table that's important? What's your advice for people worried about jobs with this, of how to stay competitive, how to stay relevant, how to stay employed?
Right. See, I mean, again, like I said, there is a lot of unfounded fear in that space, right? So as I say, it's going to augment experience, and like any other revolution over the last 30, 40 years, new technology hasn't essentially led to removal of at a very high level in terms of overall overall sort of I would say, proportion of jobs, it has actually created more, right? So when mobile devices came out, everybody thought, oh, wow, web developers are going to be useless now, right? And then they picked up skills, right? Like mobile app development. Similarly, when internet came out, everybody thought, oh, wow, now the lot of offline stuff would go away. That didn't happen. So they actually ended up creating new jobs. And similarly, in this case as well, we'll see actually creation of more productive and meaningful jobs, right? So I think things which are meant to be, things which are inefficient and meant to be automated should be, right? And they'll only make end users' life better and experience better in getting things done more effectively and efficiently. But at the same time, the people should be able to upskill themselves in new domains. For example, learning about AI, how to build the model. For example, you will have lots of new jobs when it comes to data labeling, right? So whole labeling industry, in terms of data entry operators, will see a huge boom, right? Because you need to label structured data to feed into a machine. Then you will see a lot of other sort of advancements in the skills that developers need to pick up. For example, on the AI and NLP side. Similarly, on the business side, where you used to have, let's say, architectural consultant or maybe tech consultants, you would see AI consultants, right? So all these, so it's not like jobs will go away. I just think that they'll be replaced by something much more, productive and something which only humans can do to make us more effective and efficient in terms of learning new things and actually adding more value to our lives, which will ultimately result in more, I would say, output for the whole economy. So that's how I see it, and I don't think there is any danger of losing anybody's job. I think that has always been the case. Since the Industrial Revolution, people do lose jobs, but it's not like they lose and there is nothing to go back to. I think new jobs are created in the whole ecosystem. So you just need to be prepared and alert about those and pick up those skills.
So I think what you said something very important is to stay competitive, you need to keep learning, pay attention to where the field is, and go, where is the next return on investment I, as an employee, can provide in this new technology? Now, if you sit on the sofa and you won't learn anything new, I think there's a real risk there. Just as when, if you say, well, I'm a COBOL programmer and I'm not going to learn about smartphones, and go, well, there'll be only so much code to maintain on COBOL. You probably need to ask, how can I take these skills that I have and my aptitude and transfer it into the new world that's coming? And I think this is something that we've had to do all along. And exactly. What your point is, we need to pay attention to the trends, do need to see where the needs are, and ask, well, as an employed person, how do I take advantage of this? Where are going to be the needs of it? Where will I be best? And that many of this is going to take away the more monotonous human interactions, especially where more errors occur. I mean, my joke with self-driving cars is I'm on the road all the time. I'd much rather be avoiding a computer self-driving car than someone trying to text at 70 miles an hour who's not even paying attention, called a human being, which I think might be the most dangerous person to have behind the wheel today than a self-driving car. Of all the criticisms of them, if you gave me a choice, I'd rather take something predictable that might go the wrong way than a human being that's just zonked because they're not even paying attention on the road.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's very important. Well, we covered a lot with this. I'd love to hear a little bit about your product too, because you're generous enough. You made it free. First, just tell them what it is, and then I want to know why you offered it free. I'm grateful for it, but let's start with it.
Sure. See, so our platform, Botter, is the way we describe it is the best way to to present who you are. It's like a personal chatbot, which behaves like a smart AI, powered virtual twin. So it kind of learns everything about you as an individual. It kind of links to your social networks, maybe your the information from other places like blog, for example, and builds a personalized knowledge base about you, and then represents you to the world 24/7, answering their questions. So if if anybody comes and talks to my bot, they will feel as if they're talking to myself. That is the whole idea, that is the experience that we want to provide to the users. So we feel that everyone should have a personal bot. It's a much better and efficient way of getting things done. Then be able to look at a static, boring web page and not able to sort of really digest what I really want to know, right? So it's more of a pull mechanism rather than push. Rather than me having to tell everyone, hey, this is my 10-page profile or bio that you can look at. Maybe they need to look at the stuff they are interested in, which is AI and bots, right? They can just ask my bot, hey, what does Abhi know about bots? And that's it. The answer would come. So essentially, we want to give everyone that bot, which can basically simplify their lives and be their personal assistant 24/7. So influencers like you, for example, Martin, are using it to engage with the audience 24/7. They're able to discover content. Then there is professionals, freelancers who are using it as a way to build a very interactive profile and convey customers why they are attractive. Then there is small businesses who are using Botter to sort of automate customer support, which we discussed just now. Then there are bloggers who are using it to purely sort of engage their readers, site visitors. So there are endless number of cases that this personal bot of yours can do for you. But these are just a few ones that we are working on. Now, coming to the free part, that is the most interesting one. I mean, I think the whole my philosophy is that all the good things in the world are free. So this is probably one of them. But I think more importantly, on a serious note, any new technology that comes to the market, right, for it to be adopted widely, if there is a price tag, there is already a hesitation about this new piece of tech, which people don't understand. You just shy away. And for us, we see this as a mass product. Right? It's not something which is for, let's say, 10 businesses or maybe 20 enterprises or maybe 50 small businesses. It's for individuals and businesses alike, right? So it's more of a platform where we want to get people on board, understand, adapt the technology, start using it and see how it affects their daily lives. And there are multiple ways where we can monetize it, but not just not by sort of charging a end user to pay for this piece of tech. I don't think that's a way to build adoption around a new technology. So we just want for people to accept, understand, and see the value of it first before we can enable monetization on top of it. Though we don't plan to monetize it anytime future, but if it happens, it'll purely happen to make your experience as a bot owner more seamless. So for example, it could be commerce, that we can enable on the platform. So you can buy or sell your courses, maybe your consultation, maybe some sort of products you're selling, right? So those things augment the experience in the conversation. So there's no direct monetization, in terms of charging end user right now. Make sense?
I think it makes a lot of sense. And I think a very reasonable thing is if you're using it for just education, it's free. And then maybe down the line, if you're using it to directly drive revenue where you're making it, you could offer add-ons that would add value that if I'm making money, I would gladly pay for. So I think that sounds like a good evolution, where you have the free version for general education, and then, I want to now use this to directly drive making money, which would maybe have add-ons or APIs or something like that, and say we'll offer that as an extra feature that could be a revenue generator. And most people, if they're making good money on it, they don't mind paying for that added feature. So I think it's smart that you're listening for that to see if someone wants it, or some enterprise that wants, you start finding out, let's say a large enterprise company wants a modification and customized white label version. Well, that would be worth paying for too. So I think both of those are it. And great piece. And the way it works, to explain to people, is I signed up for it, and then it wanted places to get my content. So it knew where to get my content. And then it started absorbing it. And then it asked me some questions. So it says, you might want to, these are some questions you might want to answer. So it's starting to learn how to interact. And it was great because I started answering the questions. that it suggested, because it kind of probably starting to find these are holes or these are standard things people would ask, and make sure that's in there for people. And it was great because I had one website it was going to that had been hacked, and I needed to get it fixed. You know, it takes time to do it and money. And thanks to your bot, it forced me to go get it fixed, because it was something I should have done for a while. I've got a lot of websites, you know, and now we could pull that data as well, instead of just get a warning sign this has been hacked. It found it in the Google search. So that's, to me, the beginning of it. But you're also you're rolling out new features on a regular basis. Can you talk about some of the newer features you've added too?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you started using Martin, it was just purely a personalized knowledge base that we're creating for you. I think now it's much more powerful than that. So you can have live chat with the user. So if somebody comes and talks to your bot and the bot doesn't know how to answer, the request comes to you and you respond, and then there is an option to seamlessly enter the conversation through live chat, right? So let's say you like the person and now you are both connected and you just want to do a live chatting. So you can always do that. So there is a seamless bot to human transfer now, which allows both parties to control, what kind of conversation they want to have at what point, of the day or time. Second is bookings and calendar, right? So we just launched a calendar feature where you can you can manage your bookings through the bot itself. So let's say somebody wants to book time with you, rather than emailing you or maybe your personal assistant, they can actually just do it through bot. So you open up office hours, you set them up, connect your Gmail, it'll automatically learns these are the available slots. And then anybody who lands on the bot and says, hey, can I book time with you, or can I book appointment with you? They can just, with one tap, they're able to book a slot, both of you notified, and then you can do whatever you want after that. So these are like a couple of new things which have come up. Then there's a whole community thing that we're building, which will allow people to discover other people on the platform itself. So let's say you'll be able to find more customers, or maybe more like-minded business coaches, or maybe some social media influencers, so you can connect with them as well. So it's a community kind of a thing we're also working on.
Well, I think it's exciting because I've been a user of LinkedIn for years. Because it's more of a controlled business environment. But I've also been a big critic of LinkedIn, that their progress in with technology and usability needs to improve more. And the way I often would tell people, don't treat your LinkedIn profile as a resume, but a digital first impression of you. Well, that's what this bot is, a digital first impression of you, available now. So I just thought some people could even use this for job hunting, where they start feeding information about them, and then the employer could go, well, what do you know about C++ if they're a programmer? And it gives an answer and gives some examples of it. And I thought, what an ingenious way to have a competitive advantage, especially if you're a techie person or not. It could be a golf person, say, well, do you know the Arnold Palmer left-hand swing or something? And it'd say, yes, I wrote an article on it. Where it could be used as a way to even personally brand or market or get employment on it. That I think might one day be something LinkedIn should be offering, where it interfaces. Because my view of the future would be something that looked like a hologram of you, that I knew was a hologram of you, and I could ask it questions, and it says, excuse me, I need to get the real Martin on. Would you hold on? Let me see if he's available.
Exactly. I mean, that's exactly what we're driving towards. So I think
go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. So I think bot as a personal identity is what the starting point is, which has been the case for pretty much all the social networks. Whether it was Facebook or LinkedIn, all of them started with the identity or profile sort of a thing, right? Which was a cool way to showcase and present yourself. Similarly for chatbots, I mean, we feel as a platform and as a technology, if we can showcase people, this is a great way to build your profile. This is much more interactive, much more human. It builds your brand. It really makes you stand out. Then there's a lot of value that you can provide to the user, and they feel it is like genuinely something that is helpful, whether it is for job hunting, to engage with their audience, or to sort of answer questions from customers. It could be anything, but that interactive profile or personality which reflects you or mimics you is amazing.
Outstanding. And then, of course, what everyone will want to know with any sign up is talk about basic security and stuff, because clearly you've made a lot of effort to have a secure platform from what I can tell, or I wouldn't have signed up for it. But would you talk a little bit about that, of, security and so forth on it?
Right. So see, I mean, first of all, we take your personal data and privacy very, very seriously.
Yeah.
Even though we take permissions of your data, there is never anything which kind of allows us, or even the team, or anybody who's working on it, to actually go and make changes and maybe fiddle around with it. We don't do that. I mean, that's the policy. Even there is no kind of, without your permission or consent, there is nothing done. Period. Right. So as a user, you have full control over your conversational identity, the data, the content. If you're not happy with something, you can delete it. You can, the power is in your hand, to show and, the content that you like to show, and be able to sort of turn it off anytime you want. Right. So all those things are inbuilt into the platform. And obviously, in terms of our own system security, it's like, compliant with pretty much the gold standard that you can think of, in terms of making sure your data is safe, it's secure, it's locked down, it's encrypted. All those things are taken care of. So yeah, I mean, that is there. So your data is your data. It's not going to any third party, or it's not being used by any third person on the platform itself. It belongs to you, and that's how it is.
Talking about the future, where do you think the future evolution of AI is? Because we're at the frontier. We've got the breakthrough in big data. We've got the breakthrough in machine learning. We've got the breakthrough in cloud computing, all of which came together to go from the AI winter into the AI summer or spring, let's call it. Where do you think the next step is going to be? Because there's like many experts say, AI still isn't as smart as an amoeba or a cockroach yet. And so where do you think the next steps will be?
So I think they are not completely way off in their thinking. So I think when it comes to the actual impact it is making, it's probably like that 1% range, right? Which is kind of that sort of I would say a spring level. But when we talk about the potential, that's where it becomes interesting. The potential of this whole concept, this piece of tech, is to disrupt various industries, various verticals, the way we create and consume information and services across different websites and apps. So my view is that in the next 3 to 4 to 5 years, you will potentially see majority of your day-to-day activities as an end user or consumer be powered through a single unified interface, which is powered by AI, right? So that is what you are, as an end user, going to see more and more of, although we are at a very early stage. But in terms of the pace, in terms of the potential that it is happening, we think that they are potentially going to change and replace the whole structure of websites and apps. Right, so you probably wouldn't be dealing with thousands and zillions of apps or websites, when you can just go to one platform, talk to different bots, and get your stuff done just by having a conversation. As simple as that, right? And soon your bot becomes so smart that it can actually do things without you having to tell the bot, right? So that is the future which we see, which gives you your time back, and you can do things which you love doing, rather than wasting hours and hours of your time doing things and having a state of cognitive overload, which is what we are seeing right now with the endless amount of information and content that is coming through, and your brain has to process, and there is limited time in the day. So that's going to go away, and this kind of chatbot as a concept has the power to actually replace that and make it simpler for you. So that's where we see definitely a lot of things happening in the next 5 years.
Outstanding. Excellent. Well, this has been a blast. Is there anything I didn't cover that you'd like to talk about related to bots for people to understand it or work with it, or anything? Anything you think I didn't touch on that people need to know that'd be useful for education and understanding?
Yeah, I think I think we pretty much covered all the areas, Martin. So I don't think there is anything, and the field itself is so vast. Once you go deep down, you'll see there is endless, areas where you can talk about. But I think at a high level, we've covered, most of the things that you can think about. I think just one thing which I would probably make your audience aware, just in case, that is, online resources where they can go and find out more information about, various AI related developments, or blogs, or maybe something which I think nowadays every single website, every single publication is talking about AI and NLP and bots. So if your audience, or if you or anybody else for that matter is interested in reading more and more content, so for example business.com, right, they have started covering chatbots. In fact, we my article on how small businesses can use chatbots to improve conversion, sales, etc. I just published it like last week. So there is a lot of content that people can go and read on these websites now, which can potentially help them understand not just the high level of what is happening in the industry, but also how they can use it in their particular context to actually make it work, right? So all those things, I mean, I think those are important rather than just sort of thinking it as the next big thing. I think they can potentially start learning and applying more practically. So they should definitely follow a lot of online resources.
That sounds excellent. And last, tell people, if they're just listening, where can they go to get a free bot on your site, and what does it take to do it? And learn more about you.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, please head over to botter.me right now. Sign up and create your personal bot. It hardly takes 60 seconds, to be honest with you. That's how magical it is, the experience. So in one click, you'll be able to get a personalized bot that is already aware of your information, and you can customize it the way you want and use it the way you want. And if you have any questions, if you have any doubts, you can always talk to me through my bot, which Martin and I have been doing a lot recently.
Yeah.
And if there is anything else, you can always reach out to me at abhimanyu@botter.me or abhi@botter.me for any questions or further follow-ups.
Well,
Martin?
Go ahead. This was great, and we'll have that in the notes as well. It'll be accessible. Your bot already put in there, and we'll have you look over, see if there's anything else you want me to add there. But this was fantastic. I really wanted to get a interview with someone talking about what are chatbots, and you did a great job in explaining it for people. I think this is important for them to understand. I think we reduce some of the fear, but also increase the just intelligent awareness with education and understanding. This is changing our world and our culture. We need to be educated, not just misinformed and not understanding it or just ignoring it. We call it sticking your head in the sand as well. I think it's a very important piece. So
great.
I look forward to chatting with you both in person. Maybe we'll do another show in the future, or at least let our bots say hello sometime. And thank you so much for your time. This was really great.
Thanks, Martin, for having me. And appreciate you being one of the early adopters of this technology. So that definitely helps. I mean, this place needs more people like you, so you can spread the education to other people.
I will, and I have my bot in there too. So that's excellent. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks. Nice talking to you, Martin.